What's up? I'm John from John Branch for Photography. I'm a Fujifilm X-Photographer here in the US, a wedding photographer, which I have been for 8 years now, and a YouTube content creator. I'm based out of the Raleigh, North Carolina area. However, I started my wedding photography business while I lived in New York City. The majority of the time I was at a day job while I was also doing wedding photography. But after about 4 years of doing wedding photography and a full-time job, I finally went full-time with wedding photography. And when I went full-time, I also moved markets from New York to North Carolina, so that was an interesting change, but I absolutely love wedding photography and hope to be doing it for much longer. With wedding photography, I have a more photojournalistic, natural approach to my wedding days. I love candid shots, but I also love staging the settings for my candid shots so that my couples have beautiful photos, beautiful backgrounds, as well as awesome moments. However, as a wedding photographer, the photos are not the only thing on my mind. So I wanted to share with you all some of the things that I think about as a wedding photographer and how I tackle each of those subjects. So let's talk about the things on my mind as a wedding photographer while I'm running my wedding photography business. The 3 major points are going to be making amazing images, bringing in new couples, and clearly communicating and setting expectations with my couples. Starting out with making great images. This is something that is a given. As a wedding photographer, making great images is something that we want to do at all times. Now, for me, the one thing that makes my job the absolute easiest is using Fujifilm cameras. I absolutely love everything about Fujifilm cameras, and I have been shooting weddings on them for 4 years now. Right now, my go-to body is the X-T3, and I get absolutely amazing results out of it. But I've been with Fujifilm ever since the X-T2, and I own all the way up to the X-T4, as well as the GFX 100S. And you can see here, these cameras absolutely perform. Not only that, they're super light, so on a wedding day, I can carry all of my gear and not have to worry about destroying my back or my neck or anything of that sort. Now, aside from the camera itself and understanding the exposure triangle, there are 3 main things that I think about to help me create amazing images. And the first one is be hands-on with your wedding day. Something I learned early on in my career is to be hands-on with a wedding day. One thing that I ran into often when I wasn't actually hand-holding my wedding days is everything falling apart. Bride and groom take too long to get ready. We're running behind on the time. No one knows where to take photos. No one knows when we're supposed to be getting ready, getting into the dress, getting into our suit. Where are we doing the first look? Are we doing a first look? When you're just a fly on the wall for the whole wedding day, it's quicker for things to fall apart and for you to start dealing with the bride and groomzillas. Being hands-on for me means a couple of things, but the first and main largest one is actually writing your own timeline as the photographer. This is something you might not think about, but to me it's absolutely important. Regardless of if your couple has a planner or not, you need to be writing a timeline to let them know when you're showing up and when they're going to be taking crucial photos. Generally for my timeline, what I will do is send a questionnaire to my couple for them to fill out so that I can know the general lay of the land as far as the wedding day timeline. This questionnaire is going to include things like when are you doing your hair and makeup? When is the ceremony starting? When is your reception starting? And based off of those main times, now I can say, okay, I need to come at 9 a.m. in the morning and we'll start doing the groom, and then we'll start doing the bride, and then we'll do the details, then we'll do the first look, so on and so forth. By making this timeline, again, everyone will be on the same page and knows exactly what they need to do and where they need to be for photos. This also establishes you as a power of the wedding day so that the couples know that they need to listen to their photographer, and this is what the photographer needs to create amazing images. Hands down, this is the #1 reason why my wedding days are extremely smooth and I never deal with difficult clients. Having a timeline establishes everything, and I highly, highly recommend you give it a try for yourself. The next thing that helps me create amazing photos is actually being selfish. Now this one sounds a little funny, but I learned this very early on in my career while I was at a workshop. When we talk about being selfish, what we mean is taking the photos that you want. Taking the photos that are going to make your portfolio shine and letting your couples know that these photos are going to be absolutely amazing for them. You want your couples to be on your team. You want your couples to absolutely love all your work So then when you have an idea for a really amazing shot and you're like, let's go over there and do this thing, it's gonna be absolutely amazing, they're not gonna question you. They're gonna be like, you know what, you are an amazing photographer and we want whatever it is that you're thinking of in your mind. And when you do this and you're showing the work that you wanna show on your website, which we'll talk about later as well, you're gonna get the type of clients that enjoy your work. So being selfish turns into not being so selfish anymore because you're doing what you want, your couples love that, and now it all works out. So another context for this is if you get those kind of couples who have a Pinterest board wedding, they have all their shots planned out, they want everything specifically like this, and they're basically telling you what photos to take and just to press the shutter, that's not a position that you want to be in. You want to be selfish. You want to create the art that you want to make. However, remember that wedding photography is customer service, so you do have your serve your couples. You do need to take the shots that they want and the classic shots and things of that sort, but they should trust you enough to want your creativity and to be okay with your selfish shots and the things that you want to do to create art. So don't ever feel bad about being creative and being selfish in your art at a wedding. This is something that helps me continue to do weddings year after year, even though weddings are such a very specific type of photography where you're taking the exact same photos at every single wedding. It can get super mundane very quick, but being selfish with your art and getting your couples on the same team as you can help you still be creative and have fun with your photography. And the third thing that helps me create amazing photos is communication and setting expectations with my couples. Now, I kind of touched on this with the last point about being selfish and having your couples on your team, and that is what I mean. When you have communication, when you set expectations, your couple knows who you are, what type of photos you want to take, and how they're going to be edited. So a great example of this is when I meet with my couples before they've booked with me, I explain my editing style. My photo editing style is a very naturalistic look. I don't like to overly retouch my photos. One off, it takes way too long and I don't want to waste all my time editing photos. And also, I just want my couples to look like them. I really prefer and enjoy real moments and real couples, and I want my photos to reflect that as well, so I don't retouch too heavily. I also end up adding grain to my photos, especially to my black and whites, and I let my couples know this before they've booked with me. And I tell them, if you don't like this look, then I'm probably not the photographer for you. And that is okay. Keep in mind, wedding photography is customer service. And to serve your clients the best, you need to tell them exactly what product they're gonna be getting. You shouldn't be trying to hard sell them just to get them in the door, just to get their money. You should be making sure that they absolutely love everything about your work, love everything about the look of it, and be totally honest about it. And trust me, it's actually better to tell a couple that I'm not the photographer for you rather than booking them and then having them hate your work for whatever reason. So that's a part of setting expectations. Setting expectations is something you should do extremely early on, like as soon as possible. Like I tell my couples up front, I do not do extra retouching. I'm not gonna make you lose 15 pounds. I am not that photographer. If there's something that you want super photoshopped on your face, that is not me. And it's okay to say that to a couple. Don't worry yourself about losing couples or losing money, because when you present your best self and your couples enjoy that, you're always gonna win in the end. It's something I had to cope with at first, because when you first start, you think you have to follow all these tropes of a photographer, and there's all these things that you absolutely have to do to be the best, amazing, most perfect wedding photographer ever, but that's not how it works. Your couples want to know that they're getting a great product, that they enjoy your work, and that they like you as a photographer and they can count on you. And if you can do all those things, you can work your art into anything and you'll find the couples who like you and your style. So communication early on, expectations early on, as much as possible. On top of communication, I also send out multiple emails to my couples. Using preset workflows that you can create in all types of different systems is super helpful with this. An example of some communication I send out, if I book a couple for wedding and engagement, I'll eventually send out an email that has a website on it to give them tips on their engagement session. You can see that here. On my website, I'm explaining kind of how I do my engagement sessions, what we'll be doing as far as location choices if we have multiple locations, and ideas of what they can actually wear for their engagement session. Setting up a page on your website like this is super helpful as well, because the more people who visit your website, the better your SEO is. And if you're not familiar with SEO, that's search engine optimization. That's basically how couples are gonna find you on Google. I'll be touching on that later as well, but it's super important to have people going back to your website. So don't just make an email with all of that information in it. Make an email that says, hey, your engagement's coming up, let's start planning it, and here's a website to give you some ideas on what to wear, so on and so forth. They go there to your website, you get more visits, your SEO gets better, and everybody wins. So those are the three main things that I focus on that are really gonna help me create amazing images on wedding days. Being hands-on with my couples, being hands-on with my wedding days, not just showing up and being like, okay, I'm taking photos. We want to be better than that. I want to know what's happening. I want to tell you what's happening and when it's happening. I want to basically be a part of the planning team so that everyone knows John needs this time and this time to take the photos he needs, and my couple understands that if they don't get that time, they don't get the photos that they want. I'm being selfish on the wedding day, getting the photos that I want. I'm not just looking at a Pinterest board, creating all the photos that my couple wants. I'm getting the photos that I want, as well as serving my clients and getting them the photos that they love and enjoy. Part of being selfish is also showing the shots that I want on my website, again, which I'll be talking about later. But basically, I want what I want, and I'm gonna shoot the way that I like to shoot. And never forget to over-communicate and set expectations with your couples. Doing this will save you from bridezillas and groomzillas. This will save you from so many headaches and so many difficult clients. Honestly, in my 8 years, I've had really only one very difficult couple. So yeah, that all came from setting expectations. So trust me, communication and setting expectations is the most important part of wedding photography. Now let's move on to bringing in new couples. This is the lifeline of any wedding photography business. If you're not bringing in new couples, you're not making money. It's just that simple. Bringing in new couples is probably the largest question that everybody has when they start with wedding photography. How do I find new couples? Where do I advertise? Do I have to pay for advertisement? What do I do to keep taking weddings? So let's talk about 3 places to focus to help you bring in new couples. The first place to bring in new couples is going to be social media. Things like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. All of these places are great for free advertising. Now, I'm mainly gonna focus on Instagram because I feel like it is the best place to find new couples. There are a lot of people on Instagram, and all you have to do is show your best self and show your best work to bring in new clients. And it's all free. While you can advertise, doing it organically and free is the easiest way. But I'm sure you're watching this and thinking, but John, the algorithm is totally messed up and I can't get any views on Instagram and no one likes my photos. So like, what is the point of using Instagram? So if you're not familiar, Instagram has been changing a lot over the years, and they've recently just announced that they don't consider themselves anymore a photo sharing app, which was very devastating to photographers, but honestly, I don't think it's that bad. The main thing you need to do for yourself now on Instagram is make sure to show video content. And the first comment that comes up is, John, but I'm not a videographer. Why are you telling me to take video content? Because that is how you're gonna get found by couples, and that is what's selling right now. If you wanna be organically found, you need some type of video content. And making video content actually is not hard at all. It's extremely easy. So to start out, again, Fujifilm cameras are absolutely amazing. And if you shoot with one, it is extremely easy to take some photos, switch over to video, and take some quick video. You can even take it vertically so you can put it automatically up on Instagram. Even this video I'm shooting now is on an X-T4, no color grading, just classic chrome straight out of the camera. As a photographer, you already understand composition, you already understand light. So there's a little bit you need to learn to help you with video, but honestly, it's not that hard. It's basically the same as photo. Also for Instagram, we're talking about little clips to make reels. You can also do slideshows as well, so show off your photos and maybe show yourself taking the photos. Here are a couple examples of some behind the scenes that I take for myself on my YouTube channel, and surprisingly enough, most of the inquiries I get for weddings now comes from YouTube. Couples absolutely love to see you working. It shows you as a professional, it shows you as an expert, and they also get to see what you're doing and the results you're getting. Anything you can do to shine light on your work, how you work, and the results is going to get you more couples in the door. And the cool thing is too, if you're showing yourself, you're showing your authentic self through video, when couples inquire with you, they basically already know you. So what happens to me now is when I get a new inquiry, I don't have to go through all my normal sales pitches or anything because they're already excited because they're like, oh, John Branch, I've watched you on YouTube. You're so cool. We really would love you to do our wedding. And then I just go through any specifics they might need to know, ask them some questions about their wedding day, and there it is. I booked a new client. Also with video content on Instagram, keep in mind that since Instagram is focusing more on video right now, the more you can do stories or reels or short videos, they're gonna push that stuff out and you're gonna get seen more organically. And being seen organically is what you want. Right now, just posting photos is not enough anymore and you're not gonna be seen organically. So take some behind the scenes footage. Get a friend to come to a session with you and use your iPhone. Yes, your iPhone takes amazing video and it is more than enough to take some short clips that you can use on Instagram. And again, if you want something that looks a little bit better, then use your X-T4. It has IBIS in it so you can handhold, and the film simulations look absolutely amazing, so you don't have to edit anything. At most, you're making simple cuts inside the video, which is very easy for anybody to learn. So Instagram and social media is a great place to start for free advertising. Trust me, it works. And I know it seems a little hard and you may have tried it in the past and you think it's not possible, but just putting a little extra effort with some video to go along with your own photos and you'd be surprised at where it can take you. The next place to bring in couples is through paid advertising. This would be through stuff like Wedding Wire or The Knot. Now, I'm sure you've heard all types of horror stories about Wedding Wire or The Knot, or now they're called Wedding Pro. They switched recently. I can't remember what they're called. But basically, these systems do work. The biggest thing you have to remember as a photographer is not to put all of your eggs in one basket. Meaning, don't pay for the top tier everything of The Knot. It's too much money. There is no point to doing that. Pay for whatever gets you on the first page and stay there. Typically, booking like 1 or 2 weddings should be enough to pay for The Knot for you for the year. So all you have to do is put up your best work and make sure that you're in touch with your clients when they hit you up, and basically you should be fine. It's not too much of a waste of money. It's when you start paying for the extra stuff like the banner at the top or being at the very top of the page, that stuff becomes a waste of money and now you're just throwing your money to the wind. So I would never recommend that. Pay for the lowest plan to get you on the first page, and that should be enough for your paid advertising. You can also do paid advertising on other systems too, like Facebook and Instagram. It kind of works there, but you have to have extremely strong advertising. But the easiest way to have strong advertising nowadays is video, which is again why I was making such a big point of it. And again, so many cameras nowadays shoot hybrid. Fujifilm cameras can handle both stills and video, so it's not hard to get in there if you're already on that camera system. So that would be my recommendation for paid advertising. Get on The Knot, get on Wedding Wire, get on Wedding Pro. Do a little bit of advertising on Instagram if you have a strong video photo set up that you could make an ad out of. And last but not least, another place to bring in couples is on your website through blog posts and SEO. Now, I brought up SEO earlier, search engine optimization, but basically this is what Google uses to help people when they search for things. Now, there's many things you can do for your SEO, but probably the most important thing is to make blog posts that go along with venues in your area. So basically what this means is after you finish a wedding, an engagement session, a portrait session, make a blog post on your website that's the couple's name and the location where they got married. The more you do this, the more Google will see it on your website, and then anyone who searches for that specific venue may get your blog post, which will lead directly to you, which again is like free advertising. Making blog posts is super easy. All you have to do is after you're done with the wedding, pick the best photos that you want, maybe 100 or less, and then put all the photos together and put them on your website. I personally use narrative to do this because it's super easy, but honestly, there's many different ways you can do it, basically whatever works easiest for you. And one thing you may have heard from some other photographers is to show your best work on your website. However, with blog posts, you want to basically post everything. From a wedding, you want to show your best work, but even if the wedding wasn't your best wedding, you should still put it on your website. Again, for SEO. Basically what I do for this is I have 3 different areas on my website where I show my blog post, where I can still curate everything for my clients, and honestly they have to go digging deep down in my website if they want to find some of the other stuff that's not my best work. You can see here on the main page I have featured weddings, so this is kind of blog post here. These are absolutely some of my best weddings. It's also being selfish, this is the stuff I want to shoot. So these are the types of weddings I want. Next up, I have my portfolio pages. I have wedding and engagement. And on these pages, again, this is some of my best work. These are the type of weddings I want to shoot. This also gives a large amount of photos for my couples to look at rather than just 6 up on the front page. And if for some reason someone digs deep down into my website, I have a page where it shows all of my blog posts. And this is just all of my work in general. Some of the stuff that I just don't even show on the website. But again, it's hidden deep down, but it's still on the website. Google still sees that. I can't tell you how many weddings I've actually booked just because of these blog posts. Take this blog post here. This one particular photo, which is the main photo of the blog post, booked me 4 weddings at that same venue. Also on top of that, I don't even live in the area anymore. I'm in North Carolina, which is way down south. This venue is in New Jersey, and I still get booked for it all the time, just because of a blog post. The second best way to help out your SEO is through backlinks. Backlinks are basically when a larger website links back to your website, hence backlinks. What this is doing for your website through SEO is showing Google the clout of your website. So if a large website like Wedding Wire or The Knot post a blog post about one of your weddings and it has links back to your website, that is very good. The Knot and Wedding Wire gets millions of views every year, I'm sure. I don't even know the numbers, but I'm sure it's absolutely amazing the amount of views they're getting. So Google assumes, if this website is posting about that website and they get millions of views, then this website must be decent too. And then because of that, your SEO gets raised and you get mentioned more often when people search for things. The best way to get backlinks is to be featured on other sites. So getting published on The Knot, Wedding Wire, Green Wedding Shoes, there's a whole bunch of them. I'm sure there's specific ones for your area as well. Getting published on those blogs is actually a big deal. And you may have written it off like, oh, I don't really want to do that. What does it really do for me? It helps your website, and the website is the core of your business. And if you don't have a website yet, definitely make sure you make one. Don't just rely on SmugMug or an Instagram site. It's just not good enough. You need a website so that you look professional and you're able to book clients better. So remember, make sure to make these blog posts. Do them for every single one of your sessions. Even if it's something that you don't want to show on your website, you can bury it deep down in your website so people aren't really finding it, but you're still getting the SEO benefits from Google. So again, the 3 places to focus on when it comes to bringing in new couples is free advertising through social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, add a little bit of video content to your page so that people can see the authentic you and get interested in that and book. Just photos is not good enough. Also, paid advertisement on places like The Knot and Wedding Wire. Remember, don't pay too much. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but make sure you're paying enough to be seen on those websites, and it should pay off. And last but not least, again, was blog posts and SEO. This is honestly the most important, even more so than Instagram. And it's something that you can easily do. You already have the photos, you already have the information, and you don't even have to write text with your blog post. You saw mine. It's just photos. That's it. But the name of the couple and the location is what I really want on the internet so that Google can see it and then people can search and find my photos. Those are the 3 ways to bring in new couples. Now for the third most important thing on my mind as a wedding photographer, which is clear communication and setting expectations. I've mentioned this all throughout this video, but setting expectations and communication is the most important part of wedding photography. At the end of the day, wedding photography is customer service first, photos last. If you're not communicating correctly, if you're not setting expectations, you're setting yourself up for disaster. This should be more important than all of the photo stuff. Trust me, after 8 years of doing it, the reason my business is doing well is because of my communication and setting expectations with my couples. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, you can be a bad photographer who can take decent photos, but if your communication and setting expectations is stellar, your business is gonna do absolutely amazing. So really, don't overlook how important communication is. It is the cornerstone of a photography business. So let's talk about the 3 ways that I work on having clear communication with my couples. The first place is on my website. This goes heavily into branding. Branding is basically clear communication of who you are and who your business is. This stems down to the photos, how you take them, how you edit them, the verbiage on your website, and how everything looks as a whole. One great example of this on my website is my theme is artistry and authenticity. And I have this hero banner at the top of some of the best shots that I want couples to see at first, but what you'll notice is that the photos are based off of artistry and authenticity. If you have a slogan or a logo or whatever for your website and your photos do not match that, you already don't have clear communication with your couples. If you look at the photos that I have in my hero image, the artistry photos are gonna be the posed ones, the ones where the couple are together, they're holding each other, there's a lot of love being shown there. Very artistic, maybe the couple's very small in the shot, it's more so about the whole area, not just them, just art in its best, the look of the photo. And then authenticity are gonna be the photos where there's real emotions. There's laughing, there's tears, there's hugging, anything of that sort that I captured that was candid. And some of these photos aren't even the best shots. Take this one photo that was at the speech section of the reception. There's all these glasses on the table, which is definitely not the best look, but look at the emotion on the couple. That is authenticity. And I want my couples to know that. I will take the real moments, the candid moments, even if there's something in the photo that's not ideal. Because those shots matter more to me than having a perfect photo. And so I'm clearly communicating that now to my couples, that I will take great shots that are posed and make you look amazing, but I also will take authentic moments and candid shots of you having a great time, and it's gonna be absolutely amazing, and we're gonna have fun. I'm already communicating that from the start. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about being selfish. I take the shots that I want. I take the shots that I wanna have on my website. I show those shots on my website. You may have 1,000 photos, but if you want to show a certain type of wedding photography, then you need to cull it down to like 2. Really do it. Don't just be putting photos on your website because they were a good photo. If they don't match your brand, if they don't match your communication, you're hurting yourself. Another part of this communication that I was talking about is the editing style. Keep in mind, wedding photography is a business, a very customer-facing business photography. When someone comes to your website, they want to know what they're purchasing. They want to know exactly what the product is they're getting. And because of this, when I edit my photos, I only use one preset on all of my photos for everything. And I've heard of photographers using all types of different presets for different scenarios, but honestly, I don't think that's a great practice, because what happens is your website starts looking very disjointed. Nothing matches up. Sometimes a photo looks dark and moody, another time a photo looks bright and airy, and this one looks super desaturated, and this one the greens are super bright. Keep it consistent all the way through all your photos. This way you won't get couples asking you, hey, can you edit the photos like this? They should never ask you that. these are my photos. This is what they look like. They will always be edited like this. I'm not doing anything else besides this. This is what I do. And again, this comes down to the moments where you can tell a couple if they're like, hey, can we get one of those black and white photos where there's like one color popping off? I don't really do that. So maybe I'm not the photographer for you. And that's okay. Clear communication and expectations. So make sure to start with your website for all of your clear communication. This is branding 101. Everything on your website should match up. The verbiage, the photos, the editing style, the color choices you do, everything should line up. The next place I set my clear communication with my couples is through couple meetings. Nowadays this happens on Zoom, but I also like to meet with my couples in person if possible. Meetings are absolutely important. Do not try to not have meetings just because you don't want to waste your own time. Wedding photography is customer service. You're gonna have to waste some of your time to get great results. When I meet with my couples, it's pre-booking, post-booking, and then pre-wedding. So those are 3 guaranteed meetings. But if they want more, I will gladly have them. I even sometimes tour the venue with them if it's not too far from me. Anything to keep the communication clear so that the couple knows what's happening and I can set expectations. In these meetings, this is where you are going to be setting expectations for basically anything. If something comes up and they ask you about something they may want during the cocktail hour, and maybe it's something you generally don't do, you can set up for that so that you can do it for them, or you can let them know that maybe that's not the best choice for their wedding day. That's the same as earlier when I was talking about the timeline. I will sit down with my couple. I'll sit down with my couple and the planner and talk through the timeline and let them know certain choices that don't work out or work out better. A great example of this is when couples are trying to figure out how many hours they need per day. I actually talk to them about the times where they won't need me. For example, during a reception. After the formalities of a reception, which is the cake cut, first dance, speeches, and all of that stuff, once that is done and it's just everyone partying and dancing, I let my couple know if you're not doing a special exit or a sparkler exit, give me maybe 30, 45 minutes of free dancing, and that's all I need. Because you don't need 500 photos of your friends and family dancing and drinking. You know, after a while, it's just gonna start looking the same. So I let them know that, and they'll go, oh great, we can save an hour or two because we're not doing a special exit, so they know when they can let me go. They save hours, which saves them a little bit of money, and I get to go home earlier. I'm not a big fan of the whole full wedding day coverage doing 12-hour days just because it feels like more of a value to the couple. I let them know exactly what it is they're gonna need so that I'm not stuck at a wedding day not even taking photos because there's nothing to take photos of. And again, that's clear communication. Pre-wedding meetings are basically about the same as the last meeting I just talked about as well. Basically, this happens the month of the wedding where we go over the timeline one more time. We make sure that everyone knows what's happening. I give them tips about their detail shots, which hands down is the best thing you can do. So to explain that a little more, what I do before my wedding is I'll tell my couple, hey, when I show up, I'm gonna wanna take a flat lay detail shot, kind of like this stuff here. So I'll tell the bride, make sure that all of your stuff is together and ready for me. This way, when I show up, I'm not searching around and asking everyone, hey, where are the shoes? Where's the jewelry? Where's the dress? Where's this and that? They have it already packaged and ready for me. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll just put it into the shoebox so that I can bring it out and just use it wherever I need. When I tell them about this as well, I also tell them what I want in the shoebox. So the shoes, the jewelry, the rings, a nice perfume, maybe some extra flowers, your invitations. I tell them this before the wedding so that they can get it together for me and I can take amazing photos of that stuff. So if you've ever wondered how photographers are getting those photos, that is how. We're communicating with our couples that, hey, we need these things so that we can take these photos for you of your stuff. So make sure you're having those meetings with your couple before the booking, after the booking, pre-wedding, and anything else in between. It is extremely important. Probably the most important part of wedding photography. And the last place for clear communication is through your emails. This is about the same as meetings, but again, this goes through any workflows you may have set up or any automated emails that you may have set up. I talked about it earlier with sending out an email about the engagement photos, but you should be on top of this the whole time throughout the wedding booking process. So generally my couples book about a year in advance. After they book, I have an email that goes out that's just letting them know, here are the next steps. This is what we're going to be doing throughout the next couple of months. After that, I pretty much leave them alone and let them deal with planning. I turn on my workflow, which I use Honeybook for this. With the workflow, everything is automated and I have it lined up to do things for me so that I don't have to remember it for every single couple. After a couple months pass, I have some emails that go out about a shot list and also the timeline email. This again is how I write my timeline for my couple. If they have an engagement, that email goes out at some point as well, which leads them to my website to give them tips on the engagement photos. That's why I get them dressed really nice so I can get amazing photos rather than them just showing up looking horrible. And then in my workflow, there's a couple more emails that go out closer to the wedding to help me set up the meeting right before the wedding and then anything else they may need. Outside of the workflow, I also write my own personal emails if those are needed as well. So don't send too many emails to your couples, but I'm thinking maybe like 8 to 10 emails that are automated should help the whole process. And again, if they do email you and contact you about anything else, make sure to get back in touch with them as soon as you can so that they know that you're there and attentive to their wedding. The email communication is extremely important and it's something that you must pay attention to. You can't just have it go by the wayside. And again, the best way to handle email communication is through a CRM. I personally use Honeybook, but I know there's a bunch others out there. But basically, just using like Google Mail or Gmail or something is not going to be good enough. With a CRM, you're able to see your couple, see their project, see their wedding day, and have it separated from every other couple. Rather than with emails where you just have a whole bunch of threads and it's just very confusing. So if you don't use a CRM yourself, make sure you find one that you like and start using. It is extremely important when it comes to the clear communication and also remembering what is even going on. Because I had a year where I booked 40 weddings and keeping up with all those couples and what they're doing and what they need and when it's happening, it is a lot. So trust me, a CRM or client relationship manager is extremely important. Make sure you get one. So those are the 3 places that I deal with my clear communication with my couples. On my website, making sure my branding is solid, the photos, the verbiage, the wording, the colors, the editing is all solid and matches the same tone and vibe that I want for my business. Nothing should ever be different. The editing should always be the same so that your couple knows the product they're getting. The verbiage should match the photos that they see. So if you say you're capturing moments, but then all of your photos are like staged and posed, those aren't really moments. So you might want to change your verbiage or change your photos. And then again, if the couple doesn't like my editing style, I can tell them that maybe I'm not the photographer for them, and there's nothing wrong with that because that is a part of clear communication. Next, couple meetings is extremely important. Make sure you're meeting with your couple. Get some FaceTime with them so they know who you are. And by doing this, you turn yourself not into the picture taker or the shutter presser. You are a person to them. They can treat you like a person. You can treat them like a person. And it's a better experience overall for everybody. And then have great email workflows set up for yourself so you don't have to work as hard to send emails to your couples. Get a CRM for yourself that will help you actually do everything you need to do online with your couple easily so that you don't have to send out so many emails yourself. Because once you start doing more than 10 weddings a year, sending out all those emails by yourself is too much to manage. Get a client management system that will do it for you, that will set up workflows so a lot of it is automated. And don't ever slack off on the email communication because it is extremely important just as much as your branding and also your meetings. So those are all the things on my mind as a wedding photographer that are absolutely important to keep my business running. Making amazing images, bringing in new couples, and clear communication and setting expectations. But as a bonus, let me throw in one last thing, which is just as important as all the rest of it, which is backing up your photos. If you do not have a plan for backing up your photos, you need to make sure you have one now. I'm gonna talk through my process just so you get an idea of the lengths I go through to actually back up all my photos and make sure that my couples are set and I'm not gonna lose their pictures. So to start out, the way I back up my photos is very much based on whenever I travel for weddings. Even though I'm in North Carolina, I still shoot a lot of weddings in New York City. So the first part of my backup system is shooting with a camera that has a dual card slot. This is absolutely important and you should always be doing it. If you're using a Fujifilm X series camera, what you can do is go into the settings, go to the wrench, go to your save data settings, and set it to backup. This means that every single photo you take is going to both of the SD cards that you have in your camera. So already off the bat, we have 2 copies of our photos. After I finish a wedding day and I go back to my hotel room, I have a way to back up there as well. Generally, most people will do this on a computer or an external hard drive with their computer, but I love to travel light, and I actually use an iPad for when I travel for editing photos as well. Yes, you can edit your photos on an iPad, and it's something that I'm super passionate about. So since I don't really use an external hard drive that way, what I do use is something called a NAR box. And the reason I use it is because it is an external hard drive, but it also has an SD card slot on it. So with this, I get back to my hotel room, pop my SD cards in, and make a backup of it. So now I have 3 copies, 2 SD cards and 1 on the NAR box. After that, I travel home. And when I travel, I make sure that all of my copies of my backups are separate, so that if for some reason I lose something, it's still going to be on me. So I take one of my SD cards and put it in my pocket. The other SD card stays in the camera, which goes in my bag. Usually that bag is a carry-on on my flight. And then the third backup is on the NAR box, which goes on my check bag. So 3 copies all in different places. After that, I travel back home, I get home, and I start importing my photos. Now in Lightroom Classic, when I import my photos, there's an option to make a copy to another hard drive. So I import my photos to my main hard drive, and I also make a copy to a second hard drive. So now I have 5 copies, 2 on the SD cards, 1 on the NAR box, and 2 more on my computer. And then last but not least, I use a cloud backup system to back up my external hard drive that has that extra backup of the photos. So in all, I have 6 full backups of all of the raw photos. Now, if you don't have a backup system like this, you should definitely look at getting something to help you do this. Because again, with wedding photography, you're taking photos of moments that won't happen again. If you lose this stuff, you can't say, well, we could do another shoot or so. It's not the same, you can't. There's nothing you can do to fix it. So make sure you're backing up your photos. That's gonna be my last little bonus tip for you all because it is absolutely important. Just as important as all the other stuff I was talking about. So that is my process as a wedding photographer as far as what I'm thinking about, the most important things, and also how I'm backing up stuff. Again, Fujifilm cameras is making this absolutely a smooth ride for me as far as making amazing photos, and I absolutely love everything about the cameras. And being a wedding photographer is super fun and super rewarding. Keep all these things I talked about in mind, and I hope they help you out in your wedding photography business.